Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Droid Life Show today, episode 170. Nice even number there. It's Friday, April 13th. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim. Tim, say hi.
Hey guys, how's it going? Timmy here.
So, thanks for coming back after we had a week off last week. We're back. Some good stuff to talk about. First Pixel 3 mention. New navigation bar. This actually just happened within the last hour, but new navigation bar potentially coming, more than likely coming to Android in Android P. Xperia XZ2 line, which we're actually excited about. I don't know if anybody else is, but it's now up for pre-order and hopefully we'll have some units soon. Tim's been testing Nest products like mad lately. We want to talk about that. There's G7 news, OnePlus 6 news, and Essential news. There's lots of stuff going on. And of course, Trivia is back. So Trivia, we have another sponsor this week. iFixit is supplying the prizes. Tim, what are they supplying?
Well, from the lovely folks at iFixit, we have the essential electronics toolkit. MSRP of $20, I believe, but these are awesome toolkits. I use one in the office all the time when I don't work on all my phones, but I use it for like my guitar or just little electronic stuff around the house. I use it all the time. So these are great little toolkits and they're super sweet. You're going to love it.
I actually have a couple of those. This is beyond them supplying prize stuff. I bought some of those years ago because remember I think I did a video where it was I turned a black Nexus 4 into a white one, and I'm pretty sure I just used tools from them. I'm with you. I haven't used their tools on a phone in a while, but I use it to tweak the tiny little random screws and stuff that I don't ever have anything for, any little tiny electronic.
Yeah, and if you play guitar, it comes with a guitar pick that not only you can play guitar with, but also open your smartphone with. So for me, it's pretty double awesome.
That's true. They do use those little pick things. That's right. All right. So anyway, we'll get to trivia at the end of the show. For those who are wondering what the hell we're talking about with trivia, it's a thing we started doing basically towards the start of the year where we incorporated trivia at the end of show. It's like a 5-question thing. We reward 5 winners each week. So 5 people get a prize. Send those prizes out. It's really easy. It's pretty casual trivia. It's not dead serious, but throw out some questions. We let you guys answer and we give prizes away. It's just been a fun addition to the show. So anyways, we'll get to that. First of all, topics. Let's talk about the Pixel 3. So not this week, but last week, the folks at XDA noticed that there was a Pixel 3 mention. I'll put in quotes, Pixel 3. I don't think it was a typo, but Pixel 3 mention at AOSP. It was in reference to HAL, which relates to Project Treble, which relates to breaking down Android and making it easily upgradable. That's the very, very basic top level explanation there. Anyways, the description and what the commit was doesn't really tell us all that much, I don't think, about the Pixel 3. We just have a Pixel 3 mention. We don't know any specs. Tim and I were talking the other day about how we didn't know, we don't know that much about the next Pixel phone. Remember last year, there was rumors pretty early on, I believe in January, that HTC is making them, and then within a couple of weeks of that dropping, it was no, LG's making one, and one of those HTCs can't. And now we don't have any of those types of rumors at all. I think we're assuming that the team that Google bought from HTC must just be making the phones, the Pixel 3 and Pixel 3 XL, if that's what we're getting. It's just been weird, right? We're in April. We don't know anything about these phones. We don't have any rumors, any leaks, other than the code names that we revealed that one of those showed up in AOSP. So that's it. It's kind of weird, right? We got to mention, but no one has said anything. I think you're muted.
Of course I am. So in those previous years, of course, where Google is working with the third parties to create the devices, that's more opportunity for information to leak and all that. But now if Google is indeed using that billion-dollar team that they purchased from HTC, then everything's a lot more internal. And so when
what you just said, the billion-dollar team they purchased from HTC, nothing against HTC, but we're talking about a team that hasn't been able to sell a phone in about 5 years. But anyway, go on.
It's $1 billion team.
It's just wild. They paid $1 billion for a team of engineers who hasn't had a successful phone in I don't know how long.
Yeah, it's been a while. But that doesn't mean they don't. Well, we don't have a list of names, right? We don't. It wasn't some trade between the Yankees and the Red Sox, right? We don't know the details.
We don't actually know what they got. Yeah,
exactly.
They got 1,000 employees. I don't even know. I can't remember how
It
many.
was something like 2,000 engineers.
Yeah,
You know, I was like,
which is
what? HTC
wild.
can even afford to like employ these people?
I think it just shows like how little I know about the structure of these companies. Like, what do you need 2,000 engineers for? What are these people doing?
Yeah, and that's I don't know where they live. I don't know, like where are they now though? You
I
know,
think
like
they're
did they
still
get
there.
shipped?
I think they're still operating probably out of that HTC facility. Otherwise,
Oh man,
I have no idea.
that's so crazy.
It is kind of crazy.
Either way, so when you add more, less moving parts like that, less work between two individual companies, Google's able to keep everything kind of maybe under lock and key a bit more
Could
this
be.
year. Yeah, maybe we won't hear much more about it until I/O. Not that we'll hear specifically about the Pixel 3 or anything, but following that, or maybe we'll hear like small things and
Yeah.
things start adding up after a while. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Like, let the hype die a little bit. Like, it's all right. I mean, we've already got enough. Like, we know Pixel 3. Like, I mean, what else is there to know? We believe it'll have a notch. I don't know.
It's gonna have a stupid notch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. So anyway, that's the first mention of it that we've seen publicly, which is something. I know there's not much else to go on there, talk about there, but hey, Pixel 3, it's cool. But speaking of you talking about notches and all of that, and what I mentioned in the opening is the Android developers blog posted a post today that was talking about DNS and TLS and private DNSs and Android P, and they were talking about it like, okay, it's just some people probably care. But anyways, if you don't care about private DNS in your next phone, they posted a screenshot with it that showed something new, and it was definitely running Android P. We got the clock on the left, the status bar on the right, and at the bottom down in that navigation area, something's changed. There's a back button and a pill-shaped button, and that's it. No app switcher button. So I saw this, immediately grabbed my Pixel 2 XL running Android P, like swiped the navigate or the notification shade down to see if that changed anything. And I was just like, this is new. This is obviously new. And Google has already swapped out the image. So they obviously caught the fact that everyone noticed that they were showing off something they haven't announced yet. What to make of it? We're assuming this is a new navigation sort of UI, right? So pill-shaped button, which could double as home button and app switcher. Swipe up to get into different apps, press it just to go home, maybe swipe down to get press and hold, whatever, right? It looking like that. And then there's just this kind of random back button, but it's Android. You can't get rid of the back button. I know Apple has a back or left to right swipe from the side of the screen to go back a page sort of thing, but it's not a traditional back button. And look, if Android kills the back button, I'm going to be really pissed because the back button is one of the most powerful things in there. Anyways, that's new. So new navigation. Again, I'm running Android P. I don't have this. So we're assuming then that it'll probably show up in the next developer preview, which is coming next month at I/O, like in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. What do you think about gesture stuff? And then why I related it to the notch is because it's just we're really getting into this like iPhone territory for the way Android's going, and it's kind of frustrating. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm down with it. Can't really speculate all too much, right? All it is it's like a little pill shaped
It's like a picture with two buttons, and we're like, oh my god.
Yeah, internet just stops. Looks fine. I'm interested in the gesture stuff. It'll be interesting just to see the way different things are implemented, especially say with regard to the OnePlus 6, say versus a Pixel 3. Like, how will gestures be different? Will they basically be the same? Will all Android devices kind of have kind of like premeditated gestures for what certain actions will be, and then sort of like that kind of standard for Android, or will different companies implement different things for their gestures? So I don't know. It's Android. Things could go many different ways, but I bet if Google's going to implement it, I'm sure it'll be fine. Like, they are our overlords, and I'm sure everything's just going to be fine. I'm not going to worry. And plus, it's just a screenshot. I don't even know what to think at this time.
It's hard to get too crazy, too excited about. Yeah.
We're getting close, though. Like you said, I/O, just a couple of weeks away, a few weeks away.
Yeah, they're probably going to show off. I'd imagine that they're going to say, hey, get the new preview. Who knows if they'll even mention that this is how the UI works, because it doesn't necessarily seem like a feature you would announce. Well, maybe. I mean, it does kind of change it for other manufacturers if they want to adopt this. So IO is May 7th through 9th, I think. They've for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years now, they've dropped another preview at IO. So we'll get preview 2 there. I think it's even on the calendar that's when we're gonna get the next preview. So we'll probably get this. We'll probably play with it. Motorola, when we showed off Motorola's lineup of phones a couple of months ago, they certainly had screenshots on the front of their phones that looked like they were fully adopting a navigation UI. I'm not saying I think they're going to ship their phones with Android P, but they're one of those manufacturers that has been trying to do a gesture UI for a while. Like their phones have shipped when they had the fingerprint button on the front, that you could use that as your UI or your navigation and turn off the on-screen buttons. And then they showed this year in those screenshots a pill at the bottom that we assumed was for some sort of navigation UI, since they moved fingerprint readers to the back. OnePlus, we know the OnePlus 6 is going to have a navigation UI that uses gestures. So we know like Android manufacturers are adopting this idea that, well, let's maybe get rid of buttons, have more screen real estate, just use a gesture to swipe. The only weird thing with this is, if you go back and think about like what OnePlus is doing, how they're basically copying iPhone 10 gestures, right? There's no buttons at all. You just kind of swipe up from the bottom. This still has a navigation area. So if you have a dedicated navigation area, what's the point of making it gesture based, right? So like part of the thing with the iPhone is like it's like a swipe up from the bottom, like it is with OnePlus's version. But this, if you just have a dedicated area there, isn't that still taking up screen real estate? If you have a dedicated area to that, I don't know. It doesn't really make much sense. But again, I'm trying not to get too crazy in this. We don't really know much. It's one screenshot,
And it was removed, so maybe it was just a mistake.
this shit was definitely not a mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a mistake to post it, but we know that this has got to be coming. I mean, gestures are fine. Navigating around can be fine. I think my problem with gestures is if you screw up a swipe, I'd say there's a far greater chance you could screw up a swipe than a tap. Like if there's a dedicated button, like you just tap it. Like I get in the app switcher, just tap a button, pops open the app switcher. But if there's a gesture, like you have to get the gesture right. That's the only thing.
As Austin Murphy in the chat says, gestures may or will only have navigation buttons depending on the context. And that's interesting, right? In the UI, we can see there's actually a pop-up window for the private DNS, and there's either a cancel or a save button, which I would think would negate the necessity for having like a dedicated back button in the nav bar. But I like that train of thought, right? Where if certain things are happening in the UI, you may need a built-in or say like an on-screen navigation set of buttons, but we'll see. I mean, right, we're kind of just getting into like,
yeah, so I think he's probably talking about, so Stephen Hall from 9 to 5 Google tweeted like just before we started the show that it is contextual. So the back button only shows up when it needs to show up, kind of thing.
Makes sense.
Except that doesn't the back button almost always need to be there? Like unless you're sitting at the home screen, when does the back button not need to be there?
Well, I mean, what I like about iOS is the fact that there is no back button, right? The applications have the back button, or it's just built into the system where a swipe from the left side to the right gets you to your previous page. I actually like that implementation a lot. Not saying like Google should just go ahead and copy that, but there isn't like a true necessity, I don't think, for there always being a back button.
I mean, I kind of think so, because you can use back buttons to go from one app to the next. If you're in one app and you go to another one, and even if you tap on a link that takes you to another page, like you can hit the back button twice to get back to that app. Now, I know you can just do an app switcher to get back there, but I always thought Android's back button was so important because it did more than just take you back a page. Like Apple's version is a swipe. It only goes back one page and it's within the same app. Yeah. It doesn't like switch between apps. Now, again, you could just app switch between stuff. But like the back button's always been really good at getting you back to places, I always feel like, that you just were. Maybe Google's going to try to just go away from that and just say like, yo, use the app switcher. That seems like a little bit of a step back. Where now I have to swipe into an app. I never use the app switcher. I mean, I use it here and there, just probably not that often. But now we're talking, instead of just hitting the back button twice, I now have to like gesture in, find the app that I wanted, tap on it, watch it. Seems like a step backwards. Just saying.
Who knows? It's kind
of, this is one screenshot and we're getting a little wild about it, but
yeah.
Hey, it's a major change for Android, right? Like we haven't had a navigation change in a long time. It's been on-screen buttons with back, home, app switcher for years.
True story.
Should I like wink there? Hint, hint. Anyway, let's move on from that. There was another rumor in the last couple of weeks. We're still on Google, by the way, that there could be a mid-range Pixel phone on the way. Economic Times out of India suggested that Google has been I believe, in talks with partners in the area that they may release a mid-range Pixel. They didn't talk about it necessarily going throughout the world or in the US. Again, they're an India publication, so they're of course going to talk about India. But why wouldn't Google release a mid-range Pixel here and there? I've also seen some people suggest, like, why do they need a mid-range Pixel? People should just buy their high-end stuff. Well, not to always compare things to Apple, but Apple does the same thing, right? They have mid-range, like the iPhone SE, still mid-range. Like they always keep the version from last year, which kind of becomes almost mid-range. And like Google did that this year, but the Pixel and Pixel XL are now gone. There's actually a slot now to be filled if they wanted to do a mid-range Pixel. It makes sense to me. I mean, it's just another phone that Google gets to sell, hopefully cheaply, to get more people to buy it, gets updates from them. They can put some of their camera magic in there and say it's the best mid-range phone camera ever or something like that. I mean, I think it makes sense if you have a phone that's $400 or something that Google sells that's Pixel branded. I don't think it diminishes the brand by any means.
I think people have to be more empathetic to the needs of others besides our own American selves, right? I mean, like, say not everyone can just afford a $700 Pixel phone. So,
Right.
and plus their needs are different from ours. So just to cater to other huge markets, say including India or parts of South America, it's not a bad idea business wise. So for Google to say, yeah, we can do something for you too. So, and especially for India, they are always pushing new tech to India and all that, and trying to make things more like kind of reachable or accessible, not just the internet but devices and stuff, features. So I think it's fine. If it doesn't come to the US, I think that's fine because we've got the regular Pixel 2, Pixel 2 XL. So I don't know if we necessarily need a mid-range Pixel here in the US, but
I just wouldn't be surprised if we got one. I mean, Motorola sells the G6 here, pretty good selling line. I mean, the Google was selling the Moto X4 through Project Fi. Like, I think they see a need to have more options in terms of price, even on like the carrier they operate. So I guess I saw some people saying like, yeah, I don't think they need that. Why would they do that? It hurts the brand or something when you offer a cheap version. I don't think so. I think it just expands the brand. I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, the Google Home line goes from $50 to $400. I just look at it as Google Home. I don't go, well, it's cheap because they have a cheap option. I don't. Mid-range Pixel phone, I think it'd be totally fine. And I think it makes quite a bit of sense, actually.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
I mean, Google optimizes Android just about better than anyone. They should, just about better than anyone. I mean, we're talking. We obviously have no idea what the price is, but let's say it's $400. You're telling me that wouldn't be an interesting or fun buy, like a $400 phone that's tuned by Google with updates and all of that stuff? I think it has potential to sell well. Obviously, if depending on where they sell it at.
It definitely has potential. Dog just going off. I think it has potential. However, so Vinny in the chat says, why not just buy a Pixel 1? Like we just said like 5 minutes ago, they stopped recently just selling the Pixel and the Pixel XL. So if those are no longer for sale, like Kellen said, Google now has a slot that they can fill with a mid-range Pixel device. So I'm down. I don't know if it's happening here in the US. But
I mean, we're kind of high-end phone snobs. Like the mid-range thing isn't exactly our area of expertise, but
are you talking about you and me specifically or America in general?
All of us.
Okay. Yeah. I can dig it.
All right. So in kind of random news, the folks of the internet, I think it was first on Reddit, but anyway, somebody discovered an FCC listing for an Android TV 4K dongle made by, who was it made by?
Shenzhen.
Yeah, Shenzhen SEI Robotics Co. And it has a big G logo on it, so kind of Google branded in a way. And it's a dongle that apparently runs Android TV, full Android TV, but plugs in just like a Chromecast would. And there's going to be a remote with it that happens to have a Google Assistant button on it, as well as another G logo. I don't think anyone knows to think if this is for real or not. I think there's definitely people leaning towards this being more real. I'm a little more hesitant. I don't know that I'm fully buying into this thing being real, but could totally be wrong. And I can totally admit if I'm wrong, I will laugh if this thing ends up being real. But this company that makes it, they're basically, I think, just a manufacturer of electronics for other people, right? So like Google could contract them. They could have contracted them to make this. Once it was spotted, people started talking about it. The next day, a new confidentiality letter was submitted to the FCC that buried the picture. So they did try to hide it. And when Select Press reached out to Google and said, hey, is this thing real? They wouldn't comment. So it kind of fueled speculation, right? Like Google wouldn't comment on it. You would think if it was just some fake knockoff product, they would have said, that's a fake knockoff product. No, that's not ours. And then also, why is FCC like, why did somebody resubmit something to FCC to block it? So there is a chance that this is real. I just think like this company, if you can go look at their own website, they already make a product that's this. It's a 4K Android TV dongle, and it has the exact same specs as this thing. And maybe this is just them creating like a reference product to go to somebody like Google and say, look what we can make you for really cheap. I'm not really sure. Spec wise, it matches up to the latest Fire TV stick from Amazon that has 4K. Like the specs are almost identical there. They do show that it's running Android 8.0 version of Android TV, which no one is outside of the Nexus player still to this day. Like there's a screenshot that shows that. But there's some other weird things, like the model number doesn't match up to other products Google's had other people make for them. The guide that's included is either the worst rough draft ever, or it's just a knockoff product. I'm not really sure. I don't know. What do you think about this thing? Well, first of all, before you get there, I think this would be sweet. I just don't know that I believe this is the one.
I personally think that this looks like an awesome Android media box. I think what makes me think it could be cool is that Tell Us Woods in the chat says, is it even possible for this thing to coexist with the Chromecast 4K? Yes, I do, because Chromecast 4K, all you can do to that is just cast stuff to it, and that's it. It's the full, say, kind of like Android TV experience inside of a little dongle. So you've got access to your apps, and you got access to an actual like kind of navigable UI. The Android TV, you want sort of like it's the updated Android 8.0 Android TV UI. So I think it's cool. The fact that it matches up with kind of a similar device from Amazon kind of at least lends a bit more credit. Yeah, it's not running like a Snapdragon or anything like that, but it doesn't need to, right? If it's going to be inexpensive and to get Android into more houses, more homes, I think it's fine if it's inexpensive. And the remote with the Google Assistant button, dude, are you kidding me? That's totally awesome. Even though it does have like a menu button, and Android doesn't really use a menu button anymore.
And a home button from Honeycomb.
Yeah, home button from Honeycomb. I mean, corners must be cut, okay, in order to get the price down. So we have to use old buttons from 2012 on this remote. Other than that, I don't know if it's real or fake, with the timing with Google I/O coming, but then they just filed the new confidentiality letter for 180 some odd days, which is what, October, maybe? 180
days. That's a ways.
It's a ways. I think it's October, dude, which is interesting timing, given Google's run of doing fall events. So I think it's
submitted to the FCC now, and it's just going to sit there until they announce it in October.
They probably already have these body. All they did was slap Android on it, slap a G logo on it. These things were already made.
They're definitely already made.
Exactly. AI appears to have written the user guide itself, because its grammar's not too great.
It's pretty poorly written, that's for sure.
It sounds like it was written by a robot, but other than that, and like you mentioned in your, you really went in on this thing. I don't know why you spent so much time on it.
I don't know. These are those things I obsess over, like the little details of weird things like this.
Yeah, yeah, you went ham. So as you mentioned, any Google product, even if it's made by another OEM, has a G in the model, and this, of course, does not have a G that we can see through the FCC filing. So uh, I think it looks cool. What sucks about, I will just say, like, quick note about this show is like everything we're talking about is like all speculation. Like we don't know if anything we've been talking about is
Well,
real or
Google could have
legit.
shut this thing down,
They
and they
could
didn't.
have,
They
and
could
they
have been like,
didn't.
"That's not that. No, we didn't make that." And they were like, "We don't comment on rumors." Which kind of you go, "Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This could be real."
And while I do love to comment on rumors and speculation, it's just tough because I mean it's got the G logo, right? If it was a fake knockoff, Google would have just sent a C&D and shut it down.
Well, they haven't sold it yet.
It's through the FCC, man. Like if it's through the FCC, we've got to be like weeks away from release. And so when I first saw this, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be coming to Google I/O. That's totally awesome. It's an Android Media dongle box, and that's going to be sick." And then the new confidentiality letter, which will sometimes overlap release. I mean,
Oh yeah, they totally do. They never like time
no, around the release.
on release. A lot of times they're a month or two after, just in case. Yeah,
Exactly. But the fact that the news broke, this thing kind of leaked, and then that letter got submitted, I mean, that timing is just funky. So, and would the FCC just allow any logo to be slapped on this thing? Like, would they say,
I don't
no,
think
that's
that's
a
there.
trademarked Google logo? Well, the
Yeah, but I don't
FTC,
think that's there.
you would think someone would just step in and maybe, I don't know, someone at the FCC would email somebody and be like, yo, bro, check out this Google logo.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea how that works. But people sell knockoff crap all the time.
I know.
This looks pretty bad though. If they really did try to sell this thing in the US, there's a giant G logo and a Google Assistant thing, which you probably would have to license, I would imagine.
Maybe it's just called like a Google box made by Shenzhen, and Google has nothing to do with it. I mean, it's not out of
the thing is these guys already make something. It's called the Vera Matrix Ultra, and it's a dongle. And it runs Android TV, and it has the same specs. So
I'm probably gonna pick one up after the show because if it's just like
you can't actually buy it. I looked; it's just on their website. But
damn.
That's what I'm saying. I think they made it more as like a reference to get people like Google to contract them to build it. Okay, all that aside, this thing would be sweet.
It would be sweet.
Android TV boxes are fun. Shield, I love the Shield. It's great. It has all the power, and I game on and do whatever I want. But at the same token, like, I like hiding stuff behind my TV. And if this thing runs full Android TV and it's from Google, which means it'll get updated, it'll get all the good stuff, has a little assistant remote, and I can hide it just in a little HDMI plug like a Chromecast. Come on, I'll buy one for every damn TV in the house. Well, not the ones that have shields on, but other ones, right? I think it'd be sweet. So I hope they do make this. This thing just looks sketch as hell.
I'm leaning towards legit.
Which you probably should be. Everyone else is, I think, but me. So
yeah, I'm kind of digging it. Ben Jacobs in the chat says, I really need to get myself an Nvidia Shield TV. I'm guessing he's referring to. He says, got to convince my wife it's a wise investment. Bro, Shield TV is awesome.
They are pretty great. I know it's a couple-year-old hardware at this point, but they're still great.
Yeah, it's super easy to use, and it's always getting updated, so you can at least rely on that. NVIDIA's really been keeping up with the updates, and I love Shield TV. So
Ben just mentioned that they have an Nexus player, and it's fine, but a little slow. Yeah, so I have one hooked up to this monitor behind me that I throw games on or whatever. I mean, like TV, like basketball games. And yeah, it's pretty slow. It's running 8.0, but it's not. You have to tap the button like on the remote a handful of times to fire it up. It takes a while to get warm and cook it. Yeah, it's past its prime, that's for sure. It's time for Google to give us something new. We know that. So that's another reason why this thing makes sense. But they don't really reveal hardware that you can buy it at I/O. They don't do that anymore. They announce some hardware, usually saying this will come way later, and then they announce it in October or whatever. So the timing's weird, but either way, I hope they make it.
I don't like to say what Google will and will not do based on past events. Google has every right to do whatever they want. If they want to unveil the Android Media Box, the G-Spot dongle, as we're calling it, that's totally fine. So be it.
Yeah, you can't. You should almost never try to predict what Google does based off the past.
Oh, because they'll trick you.
Yes, they will.
On purpose.
All right, so that's pretty much it for Google newsy stuff. like you said, that was all just speculative crap. None of that is confirmed or proven or anything, but interesting to say the least. Sony Xperia XZ2, XZ2, depending on your country, XZ2 compact up for pre-order in the US. The XZ2 is $700 unlocked, works on T-Mobile and AT&T. The XZ2 compact is $650, AT&T, T-Mobile, and it should be certified for Verizon. The Best Buy listing for it doesn't say, it actually says it won't work on Verizon, but Verizon has a development portal where the phone is listed. And Sony's already said that the XZ2 compact will work. We don't think the regular XZ2 will ever get certified for it unless something changes, that the compact should, if you're interested in these phones. I know they're crazy expensive and they're Sony and we don't really know what to expect from them. We will get a hold of them. We're hoping in the next few days. They run Android 8.0. The specs look great. We've talked enough about those. I think you and I are just excited, like we talked about earlier, because it's a manufacturer we haven't messed with in a while. It's kind of something new and fresh. It's not just Samsung and LG and HTC. It's somebody we haven't messed with in a couple of years, actually. So we will get a hold of both of these, hopefully, and let you guys know if spending $800 on a Sony phone is a worthwhile decision.
That's really the only problem I see with these, man. Expensive. Like, yeah, it's expensive like any Sony device. Sony devices have always been expensive, but it's something different, right? Like you said. So, and that's why we will bite the bullet and try and get some review units and not really bite any bullets, but let you guys know how these are. You know, like I haven't touched Sony software in like 5 years. So,
and it's even been a while for me. I haven't touched one in probably 3 since the Z5 compact. I think was the last one I used, and it was garbage. Yeah. That was the end of Sony for me for a while.
You were America's biggest Xperia compact fan.
Oh so. Yeah, I was. So anyways, they're up for pre-order now today at Best Buy, and they will ship from Best Buy around the 20th, and then they're hitting actual stores in May, I think, and then later in May they go to Amazon. There's kind of this weird rollout. Best Buy is basically where you can get them for now, and you'll get them by the 20th. So they have all the colors too. They got the green and the silvers and the pinks and the corals. That's kind of cool. A lot of times when these phones end up coming to the US, you'll get one color, right? You'll get black, maybe silver. You never get the, like, because Sony always does cool colors. So you got all of them. Best Buy's got them all right now.
That's true. They do have that coral pink, which is it's ghastly. But you know what? It's something different. So might as well go for it, I say.
Yeah. Might as well
get God, it's ugly. It's like peach.
Which is so funny because my wife's favorite color on the planet is coral. And she also happened to be a huge fan of those Sony Xperia phones. Because I used to, when I get done with them, I'd often like pass them down to her if she wanted to play with them for a while. And she's always like, these are great. They're like little phones. I can play on the camera's fine, whatever. So I showed her that today and she was like, oh my God. I said, no.
Insta cop.
Yeah, no. You cannot have that.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right, so this week, Tim, you talked a little bit about some Nest products. Welcome to the Smart Home Club.
Thank you.
You've been testing the Nest Hello doorbell and Nest times Yale lock, the combo together. I mean, I have them too, but I think you should talk about them because you did a write-up and you're like new to this. Like it's like I'm fascinated listening to you talk about this stuff, like what you look at, how your experience has been, all of that stuff. So.
Yeah, it's been quite the experience. Before I installed, well, I didn't install because I'm totally just incapable. I'm not a handyman. I suck when it comes to this type of stuff. Either way, before the Nest Hello and the Nest Yale lock, I had installed, of course, installed. I had some Google Homes in the house. I have a Ecobee smart thermostat, so I don't have Philips Hue lights, etc. So I don't have a ton of smart home stuff. Like I didn't have a Nest Protect, a little smoke detector, or the Nest actual thermostat. So these are my first real Nest products, and I really like them. I think as a bundle, they work really well together, at least in terms of just, managing the front of your home. Of course, you could get a Nest Yale lock on your side door and all that too. But so the install process, very straightforward enough. You hire someone to do it. And Doesn't
I did
cost.
not hire someone.
I know. Well, you've got all the tools and stuff. I'm a young
Okay.
guy. I don't have like a garage full of tools. So I'm not, not 50.
Screwdriver. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got all the tools.
Yeah. First, of course, you got to make sure your house is compatible in terms of the wiring and voltage for your existing doorbell. If your house does not have a doorbell, sucks to suck, dude. Like that's gonna be quite the
Yeah,
investment.
you do have to have a physical doorbell chime that dings and everything for Nest Hello, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you don't have one of those, that's not good. But if you do have one, should be good to go. Yeah, as Mr. White in the chat says, if you have an iFixit kit, you should be able to install the kit just fine. So I had a guy come out and install it. It took him a couple hours, whatever.
I love it that it took the pro like hours. I swear, I think it took me 25 minutes.
Well, it was his first time doing it, right? So Nest sends instruction. Yeah, it was his first time doing
Nest
it.
Pro.
Well, he was a pro, but it was his first time in the wild. Yeah, his first doorbell and all that.
Wild.
Yeah, well,
it's on like Nest Craigslist section. Like, let me install that for you, buddy. First time.
He didn't look homeless.
Nest back page, yeah.
No, he was cool. Me and him had to read the directions together.
Oh god.
He wasn't wearing a Nest Pro shirt, so I don't know if I should be worried, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
I'm like dying. Are they supposed to have Nest Pro? They're supposed to like hand you like a card that says, I'm a Nest Pro. I've never installed this shit before.
I got a hold of him through the Nest website, so I'm somewhat confident that he was an actual, unless he stole Nest Pro's like phone,
He had some sort of credentialing to.
Yeah, I hope so. Anyway, he was a super nice guy. He comes over and installs the products. Now, anyways, back to the products themselves.
Yeah.
The Nest Hello, very cool. I don't know.
Before everyone goes though, these do not take 2 hours to install for most people. Just in case you guys are basing off like installation tips and tricks here.
Yeah.
Most people could probably do these in like an hour or under.
Absolutely. So maybe just to give you a bit of backstory why it took so long, if we're going to really get into it. So my original doorbell's placement, I was not happy with. It was a little off to the side and low. So the Nest Hello, you cannot rotate the video. So I can't have it placed horizontally. So I needed to have it placed vertically, and I also wanted it moved. So he drilled a new hole into my wall, moved the wiring and all that to get it exactly where I want it. So the feed looks good. Thank you very much. So, and he did all of that. No problems. He didn't say, uh-oh, like I just went through your drywall or anything like that. Like everything was cool. And he had all
Somebody
the tools.
in the chat said probably a Sega's engineer.
They're all out of work, dude. Oh, so that's fine. And then also the door lock, where the piece in your wall, kind of where the deadbolt goes, wasn't deep enough. So the lock was having troubles calibrating. So he had to drill out that hole some more, bore it out. And thankfully, he had all those tools with him. So I know this guy's legit. No one just walks around with like a boring toolkit on their belt. So long story short, I got all of it installed. I'm really liking them. Nest Hello is awesome. It has this familiar face detection kind of software. So if someone's walking by the house and it doesn't recognize them, it'll let me know like, hey, an unfamiliar face is at your door or near your door, because it's very sensitive. I just have people walking in front of the house. It'll spot them and tell me what's up. If it does recognize a familiar face, which you program inside of the Nest application, and they ring on your doorbell, your Google Home will start going off and say, oh, blah and blah is at the front door. Yeah. So the example I put in is I have a fantastic, lovely, beautiful tamale lady who comes by the house and sells tamales in the neighborhood. And so every time she rings that doorbell, I hear like, tamale lady is at the door.
That's
I'm
so
like,
great.
Yeah. So I come running down, get some.
So you identified her in the app. You named her Tamale Lady.
That's yes, so I don't know. I don't know her actual name. Right. She speaks no English. All I know is she's muy bien. I love her so much. So she's in there. Of course, a couple of friends who ever come over on Sunday to watch Game of Thrones and all that, Westworld coming up, all that good stuff. So the Nest Hello is great. I was trying to think of stuff.
The picture quality on it really nice. Picture like I came from a Ring Pro, which also had solid picture, but this Nest camera, it has HDR, which I'm tempted sometimes when the sun's going down, and like I don't even have sunsets out my front door, but when the sun's going down and the colors start changing up, you get some pretty cool imagery because of that HDR. It's just a really good camera.
Yeah, I guess luckily you're facing your door faces the north or sunset to where you can
Faces
even see those colors.
north. Faces north. Yeah, it's not like direct on sunset, but like depending on time of year. And right now, I get some weird shadowing over there behind those houses, but
Oh, okay.
it looks cool.
Yeah, like I don't really get any great sunsets. Like, plus the front of my house, there's not really a lot of cool stuff to look at. So but however, like the picture quality is great. Like you can
Yes.
see faces, you can see
Yep.
people and things that are across the street, even like cars. So the picture quality is great. The latency between the button getting pressed or someone at your front door to the notification you get on your phone, even if you're on cellular, is super quick. I get them within seconds. So there's not a huge delay between all of that. But
Which
thankfully,
is a big deal
it's a
because
huge
I
deal.
had the rings and they definitely had. I've gone through two different ring ones and they both had a delay. Well, the first ring was just like a garbage product. It was like their first one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ring, your first doorbell was terrible. The Ring Pro was different and much better, but it was like hit the button and I could hear it outside sometimes. Like if I was sitting in my office, I could hear it outside, like make a noise to whoever rang the doorbell. But my actual doorbell, there would be sometimes like a 10-second pause before the chime would go off. And then you have the notification on your phone or whatever. With the Nest, it's instant. Like you hit the button, it's just like if that was your doorbell. The chime goes off immediately, and then you get the notification. It's really fast.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
just
it.
glad you brought that up because the Ring, that was one of my biggest frustrations, was trying to figure out how to improve that, and there was no way.
Yeah. So highly recommend the Nest Hello. I talked like for a half hour on the installation process, so I'm just going to jump right over to the Nest Yale lock. Love the lock. Obviously, it replaces your existing deadbolt. It does not, of course, replace your knob, right? So you'll still use a key if it's a lockable door knob. You'll still lock that, but then just use a master code you've set in during the installation process to unlock the deadbolt. Whenever you leave the house, you can just press on the Yale logo and it'll lock the deadbolt, and then you can just use the code. You give your master code to everyone in your family, and then you can program or just sort of establish sort of secondary passcodes you can give to other people, and then set schedules where they can access your home with that code. So, for example, if I have a dog walker, I can say, all right, they're allowed to come into my home between 10 and 12 to walk the dog. They can use it. That, of course, means they either need to have a key for the doorknob, or I just need to not lock the bottom, which is fine because the deadbolt's locked. And, I guess if someone really wants to come in and get eaten by the dogs, so be it. That's their problem. So it doesn't necessarily kind of not permit you to leave your keys at home, right? If you still use your bottom doorknob with a key. So it doesn't really solve the problem of not taking my keys. However, when I would walk my dogs previously before installation, I just wouldn't lock my door, right? Because I'm going on a little 20-minute walk. It's no big deal. I just leave it unlocked. Now I don't have to worry about it because the door I can just lock right behind me. And whenever I get home, I just press in the passcode. And so now instead of my house just being unlocked all the time, it's actually locked when I leave. So I can really dig it. The app, what I love is that everything is just controlled from one app,
Yep.
right? There's not a bunch of different, there's not a Nest Hello app or a Nest Yale lock doorbell app or whatever.
Right.
It's all just in the Nest app. It all works great. All the settings are cool. They've been keeping their connection to my Wi-Fi just fine. I was worried at first, right? Because my main Google Wi-Fi router is upstairs in my office, and the Nest Hello is obviously downstairs outside. So I was a little bit worried on how that would all work, just in terms of keeping a connection. But so far it's been great. It's lost connection once, and I think because I had like a small power outage during the night one time. But other than that, it's been sweet. People who are worried about the batteries, don't worry about the batteries with the Nest Yale door lock. The app will let you know when the 4 AA's that it uses are running low, and it shouldn't run low for months and months and months and months, it says. But then even if it does, if you have a 9-volt, just stick one outside, hide it, put it in your car or something like that. Just a 9-volt. You stick the 9-volt on the bottom of the outside of the keypad, and then it'll power on enough for you to use your passcode and then enter the house.
Mm-hmm.
So It's not bad. Everything was thought of. And Nest says it's tamper proof. I know a lot of people like take their locks seriously and all that, and they'll buy like $500 deadbolts that are like tamper proof. But I don't know about all that. I'm sure I could get in there with one of these iFixit essential electronic toolkits that we have for prizes today. But
Probably.
other than, they're expensive. I will say that. $279 for the door lock, I believe it was, and then $229 for the doorbell.
Isn't that the lock's more expensive than the doorbell?
Right. So I did have to get the Connect because I didn't have a Aware hub or anything like that. So I had to get a Connect, and that was like $50. So yeah, I mean, they're great.
It's a heavy investment.
It is.
I'm with you though. They've been great. Like I had Ring doorbell, August lock. I've got other Nest stuff. I was using 3 different apps for all of that stuff. Right now, I have one. I have it's all in Nest because I did replace them because I've been waiting for Nest to do this and waiting. So I've got the lock, got the doorbell too. So now everything's in Nest. Ditched Ring, ditched August. It's been really great actually. And the Nest stuff is expensive. But it all works really, really well. Like I've used Ring products. I had Ring stick up cam outside. It just died on me. I could never get the thing to work again. Like I said, the Nest or the Ring Doorbell Pro was actually pretty good. I don't really have any complaints about that. Just that it was in a different app that I didn't like. But yeah, so Nest stuff, it's expensive. But when you make these like slow investments into the ecosystem over the years, it doesn't hurt so bad. I mean, look, if you went out and bought a camera and a doorbell and a lock and a thermostat, you're going to spend $1,000 pretty quickly. But if you spread that out over a couple years, just like every once in a while, pick up something new, which is kind of what I've done around my house, then it doesn't hurt so bad. And then you just kind of have this sweet setup.
Exactly. And if you can only choose one now, so you got a birthday coming up, you're going to talk to the wife like, hey, girl, this is what I want. I would go for that doorbell first. I mean, the doorbell has been my favorite feature of it. I mean, just being able to see, what's outside or when the packages get dropped off and say, I don't want those packages getting snatched up because, people be snatching up your mans in this neighborhood. You gotta know what's going on outside your home. So that's what I would recommend to be your first purchase would be the Hello and then the Yale door lock if that's something you want as well. So
yeah, I would say thermostat, doorbell, lock. Those 3
thermostat.
Pretty key. The thermostats are so clutch. I tell everyone they should own a smart thermostat.
See, I still have not been completely sold on the it's super handy being able to change my thermostat from the phone. But that's the whole thing. You're paying $200 for just to be able to change it from my phone. Come on, bro.
Yes, and when I'm on my way home, I can be set the temperature. I'm upstairs, set the temperature. I'm over there, set the temperature. I'm over here. I never have to touch the damn thing. It's fantastic. It's definitely a convenience. It does cost $200, but
it's not life altering.
But again, you just slowly do that. But the doorbell, I mean, it's really handy to have a camera at your front door. As weird as that sounds, it's really handy.
Yeah.
And then Nest Hello is pretty fantastic so far. I mean, we've had it for a month or so. Pretty good though.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's move on. We got some.
Like I said, I have a whole write-up on the site with it. You can't miss it. I think it's still up on our front page, possibly, but just Google Droid Life Nest. Hello.
All right, LG G7 news. We have official name. It is the LG G7 ThinQ.
Think.
It's not Think.
It's not ThinQ.
It's ThinQ. I'm not kidding.
You've heard someone say it like that?
Yeah, they said it on stage at CES.
That's a mistake. That's obviously a mistake.
Yeah, no, everyone looks at it and goes, that's Think. I'm going to try to see if I can pull it up to listen to him say it. But on stage, they at least said ThinQ.
Oh, man. People in the chat, is that not the worst thing you've ever heard? Like ThinQ, or should it just be Think? I mean,
yeah,
ThinQ. It sounds like a weight loss regimen.
Here. I'm just going to paste this in the chat if anyone wants to listen. Yeah, it's ThinQ. It's so stupid because you look at that and you go, oh, that's a cute play on the word think. We get it. Yeah, they actually say ThinQ. It's embarrassing.
That sucks.
Anyway, the name for the LG G7 is the LG G7 ThinQ. And it's coming May 2nd. Will be unveiled May 2nd. We don't know when it'll go on sale, I'd imagine. Actually, with LG, I don't know. LG sometimes announces stuff and then they don't ship phones for a while. So It'll be unveiled May 2nd. We'll have all the coverage in the world of it on May 2nd.
True story.
So stay tuned for that. They're going to unveil it in NYC and also in Korea, I believe. But yeah, May 2nd, LG G7. We've seen it a lot, right? It's leaked. There's more pictures out this week that show the notch. They show the back camera with the vertical aligned dual camera and fingerprint reader. The weird thing about the front of the device is it kind of has, I mean, you wrote this up and you basically said it looks like a Galaxy S9 with a notch. And so what you're saying is it has a chin and a forehead and notch. You know, like everyone else that did the notch, they got rid of the forehead. Like they took the screen up around the corners and then they had a notch. And Android phone manufacturers all have the chin on the bottom. But LG kind of went chin, forehead, and notch, which is okay. I mean, Samsung didn't.
It's disturbing.
That. So it's kind of weird. Maybe it'll look different in person and it won't be so noticeable. But the renders were show basically a Galaxy S9 with an additional notch dropping down, which is just weird.
Yeah, it looks a lot like an S9 or maybe even a Pixel 2 XL. I mean, something that has kind of a minimal top and bottom, but then with that top being a notch added to it. What the hell? Yeah. So not a fan, you know. At first, when we first saw the pictures all the way from MWC, I was like, okay, this G7 Neo is looking kind of dope. Yeah. Now I'm thinking the G7 ThinQ looks absolutely ridiculous, and I cannot be more embarrassed and mortified. And this will not save LG. LG's been slipping, and they're gonna slip a little bit harder here in a minute if if they don't listen to some feedback. You know,
it's gonna have lots of AI though.
Oh yeah, tons of AI that you will not use. I will not use.
It may have an AI button, we think, right? We saw some CAD renders that showed a button. Some new imagery has showed a button. There may be some buttons.
Yeah. I saw the most beautiful pun in the chat quite recently. From Max Johnson in the chat. He says, "No ThinQ." Yes. Nice. So nice.
Nice.
So there you go. No, thank you.
In sort of related news, I mean, I guess I don't really have a take on the G7 at this point. We've talked about its notch and all that stuff, so I'm kind of moving on quickly. But the G7 will be unveiled May 2nd. I'm looking forward to seeing what LG's doing because they had this break, right? They've taken some time. They were trying to figure out what they want to do, and we think we know what we're getting. But anyways, we'll have more on that May 2nd. In related future news for LG, this week they announced the Software Upgrade Center, which is an actual facility, not just like a support group that like hides in a corner. Apparently it's a facility. And the idea behind the Software Upgrade Center is to push faster updates, support phones for longer, make sure software is properly implemented across platforms and phones and all of that stuff. Do you believe them? I don't know how else to phrase that.
Believe? Yeah, sure. I believe them. Will they rise up to, meet their own little mission statement there? Hard to say.
Hard to say.
I'm sure here in a couple of years, Google's going to buy that team for $1 billion and save LG. So LG Mobile, that is, right? I mean, LG, big company, just like Samsung. If their mobile business is failing, they still have plenty of other income and revenue. So we'll see. The G7's not the end for LG. What I would love to see is this upgrade center do what they set out to do, and that is make people's phones, their investments, last longer, right?
Great again, yes.
Exactly. Yeah, make LG phone great again. Yeah.
So with this announcement of the Software Upgrade Center, they said, and our first update will be Oreo for the LG G6, which is
a fail.
Right? Like Samsung pushed Oreo to the Galaxy S8 already, and we rag on Samsung for being one of the worst.
Yeah.
So LG, they've given it to the V30, which is great. But the LG G6 was announced, remember, a month before the Galaxy S8 or something like that. And it's going to get, when did they say? May? It's something like, it's like next month or something. They said the first update will be the LG G6 in Korea, by the way, also followed by additional markets. So we're
Oh,
not off to the greatest start. We're announcing an update for a phone that's older than the Galaxy S8, which already has Oreo.
that's not good.
So we're not off to the best start. I guess we'll know with the G7 ThinQ when Android P rolls out how that'll go. I hope LG does a good job there, but I think we should all hold back a little bit any excitement until we actually see that happen.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That's a bummer. You know, updates in Android, man, they just suck unless you have a Pixel device.
Yeah, it's not. Or, yeah, OnePlus is okay. Essential is great.
Sure.
Essential's great at updating phones.
Well, yeah, with security updates. Yeah, that's good with
Yeah,
that.
that's true. They weren't that quick on Oreo, right?
Nope. No, it like just got it. Well, no, they said
tried
they're
to
going to
get
wait for
8.0.
8.1.
Yeah, they tried to get 8.0
Yeah.
and pushed a couple betas, and they went, nah, this sucks. And they just jumped 8.1. So it took them quite a while for that, actually. Yeah, security updates are really good.
Security updates are faster than the Pixel.
Sometimes they are, yeah.
I don't know what's up with that.
But the big Oreo update wasn't that great. OnePlus is about the fat. HTC, their unlocked phones are pretty quick, but we don't know how many more phones they're going to make. So
Yeah. We got that Project Treble now, though, with Oreo. So
Treble going to do big things, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, OnePlus confirmed some stuff in the last week or two that we didn't talk about because we didn't have a show last week. They said, yep, Snapdragon 845, shocker, up to 8 gig RAM and up to 256 gigabytes of storage. So that's something. So we'll probably get a 6 gig model with a 6 gig RAM model. And then what do you think the other storage option will be? 128, or you think they'll drop back to 64?
I'm thinking 128 sounds
128 would be nice.
reasonable, but yeah, I mean 64 is probably more likely.
Yeah, and then like the super upgrade to get 8 gig and 256. Either way, that's plenty of storage and plenty of RAM. So they confirmed that stuff. They also said, yeah, we're gonna have a notch in our next phone. Speaking of notches, they said, yeah, we'll have a notch, but we'll also we'll give in and we'll let you have a software tweak that will make the notification area black, so it'll hide the notch in case you don't like it. I hate to keep bringing this back up, but the point isn't that we all think the notch is the ugliest thing on the planet that we need to hide. The point is you're all just copying Apple.
And you're doing it wrong.
Right. Like
you're doing it cheaply.
Yes. Like that's the problem. The problem has never been I think the iPhone 10 has a unique look. I'm not going to deny. I think it has kind of a cool look.
Yeah.
The problem has never been, oh, we don't like notches. The problem is you're copying Apple. Do something different. And like you just said, you're not even going full Apple because they're doing the bottom chin because it's too expensive to do it the way Apple did it. So that's the problem. I don't need to bury the notch behind black software, but I don't really need that. I just want, if you're going to do it fully, or just come up with your own way, like Xiaomi at least does with the Mi Mix, and not be an Apple knock. Anyway, long discussion for another day, probably. Anyway, OnePlus
about notches.
Yeah, we've talked enough about notches. OnePlus hasn't said when this phone's coming. They just keep telling us like, get ready, and they're really starting to tease everything. They're talking about the phone. It's got to be soon, which is for them. So
yeah,
I mean, maybe in May, maybe at the end of this month. I honestly have no idea.
Well, they got to get some type of income going, right? They stopped selling the OnePlus 5T.
They did. That thing sold through in the US. I think I saw somewhere today that it sold through in Europe too. Like 5T is just done, I think.
Yeah, so it's time. It's time. As soon as they get the bodies from Oppo and the R15 or whatever it is, and they tweak them a little bit, designed by OnePlus, painted on the back, then they can start shipping them. It'll be great. Sorry, OnePlus. I love you, but come on.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't really have anything to add to that because I feel similarly. Wrote up an entire piece on how they get all their ideas from Apple. So
yeah.
Let's see. In Essential news, we don't know anything really about the Essential 2, when it might come, that sort of thing, other than Essential admitted in the last couple of weeks that the camera on the original was not so good, and that they will do it better on the next phone. Yeah, I mean, at least they admitted. They said they got hit hard. Well, you got hit hard because the camera was crappy. I mean, it wasn't like we all were just out to get you, Essential. Like, your camera was awful. So yes, we did all hit you hard. But at least they admitted, it sucks, and they're going to improve the camera. Will they? I mean, how many
Absolutely.
years did Google tell us like the Nexus camera is awesome, the Nexus 4 camera is awesome, Nexus 5 is awesome, the 6 is awesome? They said every one was awesome. We didn't get a good one until the 6P. So
I think it's pretty clear at looking back, hindsight being what it is, 2020. The Essential phone seemed rushed, and
yeah,
if things weren't rushed, all thanks to um, Andy Rubin,
yeah.
and he seems like a pretty particular guy. When he
Mhm.
says he wants something done, it's probably going to get done, or you're out on the curb. So he gave that date. Month goes by, we're still kind of like waiting, and like and they're probably just pushing stuff. And of course, we saw those pictures, the worst pictures ever shared on social media. And we should have known right then and there that this phone was not ready for prime time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got exactly what we expected from the camera. So, I think they're just gonna regroup, take that feedback, and obviously what they need is some type of stabilization, some OIS, pay a little bit more maybe for a decent camera module from Sony, and you'll be fine. Whether it's optical or kind of digital image stabilization, I think
But
either
it's
works, right?
something.
Exactly. I mean, the Pixel, the Pixel 2 XL still has one of the best cameras. Like, use whatever that thing is. Take Google's kind of like their, I don't know what the AI or machine
License
learning.
Google's
Yeah,
camera app. Just do
exactly.
it. Just say, Google, we want to pay you for your camera app to work good with our camera, to make our camera awesome, because we
Yeah.
don't know how to do it. And it's fine if you want to admit that. Just do that.
Yep. Just do that and you'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
And other than that, Essential does not have to change much
Mhm.
for that phone of the year status, because the hardware is still, that ceramic body. I mean, everything was awesome on that phone. Like, the hardware is like some of still the best hardware ever. It's just the software was a letdown, which is odd because it's
Performance
the most
software
basic
camera.
software ever. And yeah, the terrible camera. So
I've been using the thing for basically the last week, and it kind of frustrates me, but I still really like the thing. It's probably my favorite phone right now. Again, I mean, the Pixel 2 XL, I know I could go back to it. The problem is my Pixel 2 XL is running Android P,
mm,
and it's sort of stable. But I left the house the other day, and I think I tried to make a call or something, and just nothing worked. Something happened, so I was like, you probably shouldn't leave the house with just Android P. So I'm back on the Essential phone because I just can't do the S9 thing. I just can't.
mm.
And yeah, the Essential phone, it could be easy. The Essential one too could be phone of the year if they keep the same exact shape and form, and then put an AMOLED display in so that we get always on display, because it needs that. I didn't mention this in the write up I did. I don't know why it slipped my mind, but it needs always on display. That's one of the things that's been frustrating using it, is I can't just look down and see the clock at all times, or if I have notifications sitting there like you can with every other phone on the planet. But yeah, they improved that camera, which they said they're going to do, and then they got to figure out whatever is wrong with the display panel and the touch sensitivity, because it's still a problem to this day. Like, if you touch the display, it misses taps all the time still. And that's probably a component issue. They obviously have never come up with a fix, and I'd imagine that's because they did something wrong. Either the display panel they bought was a cheap piece of crap, they put it in the phone wrong in the design, I don't know, but they fixed that. Give us an AMOLED, fix that camera, we'll be good. The only thing you have to worry about is like price. They started at 700 because they said, like, we're going to be the kings. This is going to be this exclusive experience. We're so fancy. There's no logos. Remember how they first initially sold that? They said, you're going to pay for this because it's the most premium thing ever. It's got titanium and ceramic. And then it sucked, and they dropped the price to 500. Well, everyone's used to paying $500 for the Essential phone now. What do they do with the two? Like, do you think they'll go back up to $700? They'll say, we fixed everything, pay $700 again? Or do you think they'll now float around that OnePlus area?
I'm fine with them charging the higher price, like, as long as everything is fixed, and say like some of those early reviews get out, or we see pictures and like where we're like, okay, this thing did get fixed, then it's totally fine, right? Because then the media does the work for them, saying like, oh, Essential like fixed the Essential phone, and like it's God now, it's Bay, and you'll pay
Essential
any
Bay.
amount for Bay, if it's Bay status. So yeah.
I mean, obviously I would. I'm an Essential phone fanboy of sorts, but it's just such a weird, like, I've been using it again like for the last week, and the hardware and everything about it, you just look at, like, it's one of those phones where you put a new wallpaper on and you go,
Damn.
God. It really,
Yeah.
there are a few phones where you put a new wallpaper on and go, God, that looks great. Every time I change the wallpaper on this thing, I go, you are pretty.
It works with every wallpaper too, which is like
It
astonishing. Like, there's
does.
no wallpaper that looks bad on the Essential
No.
phone.
No other phone can say that.
Only Bay phone can do that. And
So
that
great.
phone is like straight up Bay.
And the battery life now since update, it lasts all like my charging cycle's all weird because I think I took it off early on the weekend and it went all night and then I just didn't charge it overnight and then I plugged it in midday or maybe at 10 a.m. and got it full and so now my chargers are all weird. Like I barely plug it in anymore. It's great. They got some issues they need to address. At least they're open to admitting to the mistakes they made.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. Let's see. We've already been going for like an hour. I was going to talk about Samsung fans and why they are okay with the fact that their phones get such slow updates.
Oh, that's like straight for the jugular, dude.
Yeah. Well, because we ran a question about it, and just said straight up, like, tell us. We're being serious. Like, why is it that you're okay waiting this long? You know, Oreo, it took 6-7 months for these phones to get Oreo. And I'm sure it'll be like, again, we don't know with Project Trouble. Maybe Galaxy S9 will get Oreo right away. But I think most people just said because the hardware is great, they can get them everywhere. The software features are already there, whereas Google's big updates to say Android O or P, they often include features that Samsung phones have already had. They don't care, so they don't care about the updates necessarily. They're still getting their security patches. I mean, the comment thread here is kind of toxic. It's like it's like Pixel people versus Samsung people just attacking each other. We'll have to maybe save it for another show because we could be talking about it for a while. But I think it just needs like a recap post of this is why Samsung people. I don't know if you're in the chat, like, and you own a Samsung phone. Why are you okay with? Feel free to just sound off. Why do you think people are okay with just getting that? Is it just because the hardware is fine?
Maybe they just don't realize. Maybe they don't know. Like, I mean, I try and think about it just from someone who probably doesn't read Droid Life and doesn't watch an Android podcast on YouTube, and like watches it live. You know, those people probably maybe just don't even know, don't realize that like updates are like an actual like kind of a fluid thing that are always happening or always should be happening. So. Real quick, though, while I understand the importance of that, I don't know, maybe you could shed more insight on this, but Eric Ortiz, he says the Android distribution numbers haven't been updated in 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
Right, and yeah, I just realized that myself. Like we used to write those up every month, but they haven't been updated since February. Have you heard about anything about this?
They haven't said anything, no. I mean, I've been keeping an eye on it, but they haven't said. I don't know what's going on there. It was kind of around the time the first P developer preview dropped.
Kind of, yeah.
So, you know, because it was March and then this month too. I don't know. They haven't said anything. We could always reach out. It's one of those things that they probably should have stopped doing a long time. There was never any benefit to them or
it's just a joke now.
Yeah, I mean, everyone just looked at it and laughed. I don't know. Honestly, I do not know. I think the reason they probably had it was to show developers which versions of Android to develop for. I mean, that's probably the only reason it was there. And instead, it just turned into this running joke about, look, no one's running the newest version of Android and it's getting worse. You know, that was the narrative. It's getting worse each year. So I don't know why they're not. It seems like one of those things they should probably just stop posting those. I don't.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, it doesn't serve them well. I think I think I would assume the development tools now for apps and stuff are as such where backporting is probably not that big of a deal, you know, to make sure your stuff works probably at least through 6.0, if not 5.0. You know, most apps just kind of work with those versions, which is what the majority of people are. I don't know. Maybe they'll get an update. We'll find out. Maybe hopefully they've just given up on it.
No. Eddie Vassallo in the chat says, got my P20 Pro and immediately sold my S9 Plus. This is the best Android phone on the market at the moment. Woo! Pro. Big claims, but it does have the specs to kind of back that up. Like, it looks awesome. And
you and I want a P20 Pro to play with.
Badly.
Huawei won't send us one because that's an international phone and they know we're basically all US only. So they don't really talk to us that much about that stuff. But I would love one. I'm just not going to pay like $1,000 for one when I know I won't use it for very long.
Yeah, I need to know from Eddie, did you get the Twilight version, like the multicolored awesome one, the chameleon, or did you just get some nasty black regular looking model? So
you kind of have to go Twilight.
You got to go Twilight chameleon paint. That's Bay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways, we can talk about the Samsung stuff another day. Because now we're talking distribution, whatever. We should just switch and just do trivia.
I'm down. Trivia. I love
trivia dance. Trivia dance.
Trivia.
You guys ready for trivia? We got 5 questions sponsored by iFixit. All the little toolkits.
Yeah, we have 5 of the essential electronic toolkits. Good to go. Just to give you a rundown of what's included, you've got a magnetized driver handle. Comes with 16 different precision screwdriver bits. You've got your Phillips, pentalobe, flathead, torque security. So if you have a scuff controller, you can mess with your scuff controller thanks to the torque security included. Tri-point, sim-eject bit. You got your opening tool, spudger, a jimmy, suction handle, lid with sorting tray. Like I said, I use this all the time around my house on everything but smartphones. So
Me too,
yeah. If I was more of a DIY kind of guy and I wanted to break into my phone, I totally would, and I could with this. Of course, if you don't know iFixit, not only do they do those awesome teardowns where we get to see the guts of all of our favorite phones, but they make these awesome toolkits. So we've got 5 of them, and we've got some Android trivia. Make sure to refresh your feed right now. Go down to the lowest setting of quality if you want the ultra latency bay. And best of luck to you. 5 questions, 5 winners. Oh, I have to specify. We have all 5 of the kits like in my office. We're located, of course, in Portland, Oregon, and this is a US only contest. We cannot ship these internationally.
We probably can, but we don't.
We don't want to. Sorry. Yeah, like no, we can't. Like it's not in the budget to spend $100 on shipping. So
No.
So US only, and that's not continental US. I can do Hawaii, Alaska, etc. I also think I can do Puerto Rico. I don't think that would be included in international shipping rates. So other than that, do you want to get started? Are we good? Let's
do it. Yeah, hopefully you guys have refreshed. We give you plenty of time to drop that quality down.
Yeah,
audio only feed. Yeah.
Yep. Sweet. All right. Well, let's start off with a question 1. The first person to give the correct answer in the chat.
Yeah, we haven't done the rules, have we?
Yeah, probably a good idea. I will read out a question. The first person to put the correct response in the live chat wins the prize. And it's the first person as we see it. Kellen and I have the same feed for the most part. So we'll know who's
your
first.
Feed shows you ahead of a different person that we declared the winner. I mean, I hate to say it, but sorry. Tim and I go with what our feed shows, and every show that we've done it, our feed has been correct when you go back to the replay and all of that stuff. So
yeah,
we'll call it out, and then we'll have you email us once the show's done so we can arrange that prize.
Yeah. Joey Riz real quick in the chat says Hawaii, Alaska, and PR all cost more. It's fine, man. It's US. It's all right. It's no big deal. So if you live in Hawaii or Alaska, don't worry. We'll get you your little essential toolkit.
That's right.
Sweet prize, by the way. So let's start with question number 1.
Question number 1.
Of course, since iFixit is our sponsor for the prizes we have today, we do have a iFixit related question. So if you have been reading some of our the teardown write-ups that we do based on their teardowns of smartphones, maybe you'll know the answer for this one. So what 1 out of 10 repairability score did the Galaxy S9 and Galaxy S9 Plus receive in iFixit's teardown? What 1 out of 10 repairability score did the Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus receive in iFixit's teardown? I see a correct answer here. The correct answer is 4. Samsung Shield coming in with the quickness. 4 out of 10.
Do not try to repair your Galaxy S9.
Exactly. While parts are modular, getting into the device requires quite a bit of brute force, and you got to peel some adhesive. So don't recommend it. But yeah, Samsung Shield, congratulations.
Samsung Shield just said in the chat, pass, next person can have it. Samsung Shield not live in the US?
I don't know, maybe not.
All right, well, the next person to have a Samsung Shield was Brett Wright.
Brett Wright.
So Samsung Shield, if you really don't want it, it's going to Brett Wright.
Yeah, let us know just for sure, Penny. All right, maybe he already has one.
He already has one.
He says, I have a lot of those kits. Well, fantastic. Thank you, Samsung Shield, for being a gentleman and passing it along. Brett Wright. Hopefully he didn't close out already. He's like, oh, screw it, I missed it.
Brett Wright already left. Yeah. Brett Wright, you won. Samsung Shield passed on to you.
Yeah. Nice. Congratulations. Let's go ahead. So at the end, once we've got all of our winners, I will put my email address in there, and I'll make sure to get everyone's information, and we'll get you your prizes. So yeah, just hold on there. And of course, if you already win once, you cannot win again, just so we're clear.
That's right.
Let's go on to question number 2.
Question number 2.
What was the first 4G LTE Android device available through Verizon? What was the first 4G LTE Android device available through Verizon?
Brings back so many bad memories for so many people.
I know. Sorry, guys, to bring up.
Okay, you can't win, Brett Wright.
There you go. Connor Mills with the correct answer of the HTC Thunderbolt. Are you also seeing Connor Mills?
Yeah. Well, Brett Wright's first, but
he already won one, unless Brett Wright has a twin.
Yeah, it is a Thunderbolt. Connor Mills will get this because Brett Wright was first, but Brett Wright, you already won thanks to Samsung Shield. So Connor Mills, Thunderbolt.
Fantastic. Brett Wright must have a really good good latency going on here. Good connection. Very nice. So there you
awesome.
go.
Murphy says Moto Zoom. The Moto Zoom is one of the most fantastic stories ever because it was sold, I think maybe before all those members didn't have the 4G LTE chip.
Had to send it in and then wait a month, get it back.
Pretty good.
That was bad times.
Wait, was that Brad Wright or Brett Wright? Is there 2 Wrights?
Checking.
I'm checking. No, it was Brett Wright. Yeah,
yeah, Brett Wright.
Okay. I was like, somebody typed Brad Wright.
That's so rude. Why you guys try to go?
Can't do that.
Yeah, don't confuse us. Come on, man. Fake twin. All right, cool. So we've got our second question winner. Fantastic. Let's go with question number 3, please.
Question number 3.
What year did the original OnePlus One get released? I'll read that again. What year did the original OnePlus One get released?
Trivia dance.
Trivia dance. Feel that energy. It's so positive. Nothing but good vibes.
I think we have a winner.
Yeah, I do believe we have a wiener. A wiener. Oh man, it's going so quick. Hosnain
Reza.
Hosnain Reza. All right. If you are in the I do believe, yeah, number 1 for me with the correct answer of the 2014 for the launch of the original OnePlus One.
2014 original OnePlus One. It's crazy. We're like 4 years since that phone, since the real hype.
That
all those amazing competitions OnePlus ran and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, and the phone only cost like $299 or something. It was pretty revolutionary.
The phone was great. Introduction of Sandstone.
That was good times. All right. Yep, we are ready for question number 4.
Question number 4.
What was the name for the first Droid branded tablet released in 2011? I'll read that again. What was the name for the first Droid branded tablet released in 2011? This could be a difficult question for some. I know a lot of people are going to say the Zoom. Oh, it's the Zoom. That is incorrect. The Zoom was indeed an Android tablet. However, it was not Droid branded.
I think they dropped the Droid branding.
Yeah. Oh, we got one. Rashad Gaddis in the chat with the answer of the Zyboard. And that's an acceptable answer. And that is the correct answer. Congratulations, man. You know,
a trick question.
It is kind of. I knew a lot of people were going to say the Zoom. I'm sorry. But yes, the Droid Zyboard, which is
Rashad Gaddis, right? Rashad Gaddis.
Yes.
Zyboard. What a bust of a tablet that was.
Yes, indeed.
No one bought that thing. And there was 2 sizes of it too, and no one bought that thing.
It looks cool, but anyway.
All right.
Cool. Congrats, Rashad. Let's go with question number 5, please.
Question number 5.
Thank you. All right. What was the first version of Android to feature on-screen navigation buttons? Last time, what was the first version of Android to feature on-screen navigation buttons? This is topical, of course. We're talking about Google possibly just, go ahead and removing on-screen buttons and incorporating gestures. I'm seeing a few. There we go. I see George Vanner
George
with the
Vanner
correct answer of honeycomb,
with the honeycomb.
which was Android 3.0, released for the Motorola Zoom. So everything's nice and topical. But that is a correct response. He was the first one with it. A lot of people were saying ICS. Yes, they were the first smartphones to have the to have the on-screen buttons. The Galaxy Nexus and all that was great times. But honeycomb, Motorola Zoom, the Tron UI, all of that. So
yeah, they had those first. They went through two versions of touchscreen buttons on honeycomb. Remember, there was the ones that were kind of shaded, and then they dropped it, just went with the silhouettes, and then it went all Tron style.
Yeah, it was good times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter my email inside of the chat. And then if you are a winner, and Kellen will read out those names for me one more time.
All right, George Vanner with honeycomb, Rashad Gaddis with Zyboard, Hasnain Reza with 2014. Connor Mills with HTC Thunderbolt, and Brett Wright with 4.
Sounds about right to me.
It was a little shifty in there because Samsung Shield gave it to Brett Wright. Brett Wright won the second one, but he gets disqualified. Connor, that should be everyone though. So Tim dropped email in the chat. Email him right now if you won, and he will get organizing to get you those prizes.
I will get you your prizes. Yes, Jackson Neatard says I emailed you with a screenshot from my computer. Again, what your side shows may not be what Kellen and mine show, and that's the one we have to go with. Not that I'm accusing anyone of going to be photoshopping, their name above someone else's. I'm sorry. So that's what it is. We just go with what we see. So, congrats again to all of our winners of the Essential Electronics Toolkit from iFixit. And huge shout out again to iFixit for hooking it up with the prizes for our 5 awesome and smart winners. So there you go.
We do have more prizes from other sponsors lined up as well for future trivia. We got a few in a row. We got some good stuff to keep giving away, including today's iFixit stuff. So
yeah, we have if we have a show next week, depending, of course, we have another awesome sponsor for prizes lined up for next week. You definitely won't want to miss it. And we've got an awesome sponsor for the week after that. And maybe things are just building up to bigger and better. Maybe one day we're gonna have phones or something like that. Who knows?
Maybe one day we'll just have a trivia show.
Oh yeah, and just like 10 or just like 15 questions, just give away stuff the entire time. That would
blow out end of the year.
I could dig that.
Yeah, never know.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, anything else you want to talk about?
At least one thing. So anyone here who might be a music person, I'm a fan of the band Ghost, and they have a new single out that I demand all of you go check out. It's called Rats from the band Ghost, and they're awesome. They're like my favorite band ever right now. And they've got a new song out, new album coming out June 1st, up for pre-order now. If you pre-order, you get the single for free, but it's also available on Google Play Music, so you can just go over there and stream it for free. It's also on YouTube. It's awesome. It might be the best song of the year so far. So yeah, there you go. There's that. And Rats. That's it for me, man.
That's awesome.
Oh, and go Winterhawks.
Yeah. Hawks.
We're in the playoffs, man.
Always in the playoffs.
I know. Always.
Go Blazers, also in the playoffs.
Go Blazers. Yes, I predict. So we got the Blazers going up against the Pelicans in round 1. I predict an exit for the Pelicans, with the Blazers going to round 2, and then probably getting crushed by whoever. Because we would then play. I don't know how that works. Would we play the winner of the Houston
Warriors?
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Blazers number 3. So we would play the Warriors unless they get beat by San Antonio, because Steph Curry's not going to be the first round. Like, you never know.
You never know. Things could
Spurs
happen.
Can cook up some stuff. Either way, Spurs or Warriors, assuming the Blazers get through the Pelicans.
I could see the Blazers beating the Warriors, man, even with Steph.
I don't know.
You never know, dude. All we need is that Dame time, Lillard time. But yeah. Anyway.
Good times, though, for sports fans right now.
It is.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll let you know if we'll be back next week. We've got lots of stuff coming up, obviously, with LG G7, OnePlus. There's probably Moto phones coming, Google I/O is coming. There's lots of stuff going on. So more than likely, we'll have a show. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Be safe. Happy Friday.
Peace.
Peace.